Hey everybody, my name is David Silberberg, and today I'm going to be showing you the official PracticePanther invoice approval process. To submit an invoice for approval, there are a couple ways to do this. The first way is on creating a brand new invoice, a single invoice. Right here we see submit this invoice for approval, just an option that you have on the top of the screen. If you click yes, when we save this invoice, instead of saving it with the status saved, it'll be saved with the status pending instead. You'll also notice when we scroll down past our attorney fees there, when we get down to this page on the bottom, normally there are two options here for automatically using trust or automatically using operating funds to pay off this invoice. And these are going to be hidden when we plan to submit an invoice for approval. This is because when we are using a pending invoice, those invoices cannot be paid and they cannot be sent until they've been approved by an attorney. As a result, we turned off these automatic payment options for pending approval invoices so that they are not able to be paid by accident until after attorneys have approved the invoice. So all we're going to do is we're going to hit save right here on the bottom. And you'll see this invoice is now pending approval immediately. What does a pending invoice really mean? A pending invoice cannot be sent, so we have no sending options. It cannot be paid. We also do not have any paying options. It will not get carry forwarded into the subtotal of other invoices for this client. And it will also not show up on your invoices to pay list whenever you're using retainer on the client to pay off other existing invoices. A pending invoice will not appear on that list to pay. And finally, a pending invoice will go over to QuickBooks Online if you're using the QuickBooks Online integration. So nothing's different when it comes to QuickBooks Online. And as it is pending and as you're making changes, all those changes will move over to QuickBooks Online instantaneously as well. There's a couple other ways you can submit an invoice for approval. One we saw was when we're generating the invoice initially. The other is when we are batch invoicing. So if I were to do a new invoice and hit multiple invoices this way, we can select our matters that we want to invoice for and hit the green select options button on the top right. Here we'll see the submit for approval button right here, which we can turn on. It will hide that automatic email option because we don't want to accidentally automatically email these invoices. They haven't been approved yet. And it also hides those payment options as well for all of these invoices. So this way, when we go to hit generate or create two invoices here on the bottom right, or however many they are, it will create all of these invoices in one shot and automatically start them as pending, awaiting to be approved. Another way we can submit an invoice for approval is by utilizing the shortcuts on the invoices page. Here, whenever we hover over an invoice, we can see we have a list of shortcuts. Right here we have submit for approval. We also have approve here as a shortcut option for you as well. You also have these as batch options, so you can go to multiple invoices and submit them for approval in bulk if you ever need to. You can also see that option when viewing an invoice. Simply open the invoice, hit actions, and submit for approval is right here for you. Next, how do you find a list of all the pending invoices waiting to be approved? Simply come to your invoices page like this and come here to change your status from any to pending. This is going to show you a complete list of all invoices that are waiting to be approved. In this case, I'm only seeing the invoices that belong to contacts that I'm personally assigned to. If you wanted to see all invoices for the entire firm that are pending and waiting approval, you can change this to any user. From here, I can see all the invoices that are waiting to be approved, and I can open them one at a time in other tabs to review them, or I can check them all off, hit this batch option, and print them to be reviewed by my staff. So let's open one of these pending invoices up. And let's say this invoice looks perfect, or we finished making all of our edits and we're satisfied with it. Whoever is appointed in the firm can go ahead and approve the invoice like so, hitting this purple approve button right here. Changing the status, back to saved, and approved. An approved status is like a layer on top of the existing status. So this could be saved and approved, it could be sent and approved, or it could be paid and approved. Any approved invoice can once again be sent or paid whenever needed. Let's say you've recently approved all of your invoices and you are now ready to pay them off. All you have to do now is on the invoices page, change your status from pending to approved. And if you want to get really specific, we can actually change this bill date filter from bill date to approval date. And change the date range maybe to the last 7 days. This way, you can see a full list of all of the approved invoices from the last 7 days. In this case, I only have one, which would be very easy for me to go ahead and pay off using my retainer. But let's say you might have 100 invoices that were all recently approved and needing to be paid using their retainer. This is where you can use our batch pay invoices option, like this, and use any available trust or operating account after the fact to pay these invoices off in one fell swoop. And just like that, my saved and approved invoice became a paid and approved invoice. Also, by the way, while you're looking at any of your invoices, if they are approved, you can hover over the check mark to see who approved of it and when. And you can also see this information as part of your grid as well, right over here. You can also open any invoice and see the history of that invoice's statuses on the bottom. So we can see when it was created, we can see when it was submitted for approval, and we can see when it was approved and who approved it and submitted it. Anyone assigned to the contact that this invoice belongs to can choose to receive notifications by hitting Manage Notifications under their globe and turning on the status options here for submitted for approval and approved. This way, whenever someone else submits one of your invoices for approval or approves them, you'll get notified right away. Lastly, if you want to set up a shortcut for yourself whenever you're doing your invoices and you don't want to have to click on that Submit for Approval button every single time you're making your invoices, you can scroll down to the Invoice Options page in your settings and change the default setting right here for all of your invoices, so that whenever anyone is making a single invoice or batch billing, the option for Submit for Approval will automatically be on from the start. And that's it. Enjoy!